Hi there, this is Janet Gershen-Siegel, and this is Module 2 of ICM 552, which is the ethics class at Quinnipiac University Master's Degree Program. I'm here to talk about an ethical situation that occurred recently, and so what I'm going to talk about is the Charlie Hebdo incident. So this presentation is called L'Ethique de Charlie Hebdo, which in English means the ethics of Charlie Hebdo, and I want to make it very clear from the beginning that some of these images are in SFW. Back on January 7th of this year, the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo was attacked. There were 12 people dead, including a number of cartoonists at the magazine. There was outrage, understandably, international outrage, I might add, and there was quite a bit of solidarity. A lot of people were very angry about this. They were touched and they were hurt, and Je suis Charlie became a rallying cry. It was a trending hashtag on Twitter. People would change their avatars on Twitter and on Facebook. It was a very big deal in the social media community and in the community at large. However, a few people seem to remember that the magazine had been attacked before. In 2011, there was a firebombing and their website was hacked, and this image is from the firebombing. So the question is, what provoked this? Now, what provoked it, essentially, is that the magazine was rather well known for its provocative cartoons. This one is, in French, it says, Muhammad, a star is born. However, Islam was not the only religion that was being targeted. This one is just as offensive, but it's not Islam. Islam is nowhere in this image. The skewering was merciless, and the message was often hidden behind inflammatory imagery, because what you tend to not see in an image such as this is the caption. Instead, you can see quite clearly that it's a guy who's intended to be a Muslim cleric who is French kissing a guy who's either a cartoonist or a writer, perhaps, wearing a Charlie Hebdo t-shirt. But the caption reads, love is stronger than hate. This adolescent-style sniping was considered offensive to many people. And as I went through these cartoons, I tended to notice that it felt quite a bit like if you've ever had to deal with a couple of young children who are always hitting each other, and you separate them and you say, don't touch each other. And then one of them puts his finger maybe a millimeter away from the face of the other one and starts yelling, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Well, it's that same sort of provocation. It always seemed to be like that, at least from what I was looking at. This image, for example, is intended to be Muhammad, and in red it says Sharia Hebdo, and what Muhammad is saying is 100 lashes if you don't die laughing. So they just kept picking at this scab over and over again. The magazine prided themselves on being irresponsible. The image on the left is a cartoon purporting to show the invention of humor. The caveman is holding a cup of what is supposed to be oil, and of course he's got fire in the other hand, and this just goes right along with the way they fancy themselves. They style themselves as being the kinds of people who would throw gasoline on a fire, and they sure as heck did. Now, aside from the 2015 shooting and the 2011 firebombing, the magazine was also sued over its content in 2011. Now, this image is actually from 2015, but it's representative of the people who didn't really enjoy going along with what Charlie Hebdo was putting out there. But in 2006, French President Nicolas Sarkozy, he even sent a letter to the court supporting the French tradition of satire. But one of the things that the editorial staff should have noticed at the magazine was that things were starting to escalate. It went from a lawsuit in 2006, and then there was a firebombing in 2011, and now it's gone to a shooting in 2015. And so things were getting worse, and maybe they shouldn't have realized that it was going to be quite this bad, but I think they had every reason to believe that bad things could potentially have been happening from what they were doing. Now, of course, the killings are tragic, and of course, speech should be free. But is it right to provoke like this? What we have here is an image of, it's a Hasidic Jew on the left. In the center is a bishop, or perhaps it's intended to be the Pope. And on the right is another Muslim cleric. And what they're all saying in unison is we must veil or perhaps hide Charlie Hebdo. Now, reaction after the shooting around the world was mainly supportive. The largest sign on the right-hand side just says mort de rire, which is French for death of laughter. Cartoonists around the world would commemorate the event with their own artwork. This Spanish cartoon with various images, implements of writing and drawing, just says, take the companions' weapons. I like this one quite a bit. This eloquent tribute is it's an automatic weapon, and somebody's putting a pencil in it, and it's rather similar. The pencil in the barrel is very similar to images from the Vietnam War in the United States, where people would put daisies and other flowers inside the barrels of guns. But all of this makes me wonder if the same point could not have been made with perhaps more finesse and less provocation. These other cartoons, the ones that aren't Charlie Hebdo, seem to be doing this with a lot more eloquence, a lot more restraint, but they're getting their point across, and in fact, I think they're getting their point across a lot better. However, at least on the Charlie Hebdo side of things, I'm sure that they would argue that perhaps it can't be restrained and measured in order to be truly effective, but I have to say I don't think so, because what we have here is an image. This is not a Charlie Hebdo cartoon, but it is, I feel, considerably more eloquent. You have, it's obvious what this image is referring to, and it does so without even having to have a caption. And it does so without specifically rubbing people's noses in it and making people feel making people feel small. However, regardless of how you look at it, in the meantime, 12 people are still dead. And I just can't help but wonder if perhaps things could have been a bit different if the magazine had showed some ethical restraint. Because here, this last image is their cover. And here we have, once again, it's Muhammad. And he's saying, Je suis Charlie, I am Charlie. And the caption reads, Tout est pardonné, all is forgiven. But my question to you is it? Once again, this is Janet Gershen-Siegel for ICM 552. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.